Pete Hegseth faced tough questions about his past comments and personal conduct during a confirmation hearing to be Secretary of Defense on Tuesday. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. If you're a Pete Hegseth fan, here's the bad news. I'm about to do some jokes at his expense, but here's the good news. He's probably going to get confirmed as the next Secretary of Defense because it is very unlikely that Republicans will stand up to Donald Trump on this. And you might be saying, Seth, why would a Pete Hegseth fan be watching your show? Fair point. It has come to my attention that sometimes people who do not care for me get stuck watching my show. And to those people, I would just say, you have my sympathy, and I hope you get a TV soon that allows you to change the channel. Moving on, you may know Pete Hegseth primarily is a Fox News host with a lack of government experience and some very weird views. For example, here's how the man, who may well be our next Secretary of Defense, once explained Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
I've always felt like it was, from the beginning, like a couple days in, I was like, this feels like a Putin's give me my back war. It kind of feels like I feel like you've been pushing pretty hard, and we used to have the former Soviet Union, and we're pretty proud of that. And Ukraine was a part of it, and all these other countries. And I want back.
It is fun to imagine the oppressive leader of an authoritarian regime as a jilted ex-boyfriend who left his vape at his ex's house. Becky, open up. I left my gaming chair and my jewel pods in there. Come on, I want my back, Becky. Of course, Ukraine is a sovereign nation of 36 million people, not Putin. But why I gotta go be the wet blanket? The Hegseth nomination really underscores the degree to which the MAGA movement is a fraud. They've been claiming for years that they're actually the ones who are anti-war and opposed to the influence of the defense industry in Washington.
I think the problem is that these military contractors want to have as many of our brave men and women spread all around the world as possible because somebody's got to sell them toilet paper, somebody's got to provide housing, somebody's there preparing the MREs, and it is all about money, and I resent the hell out of it.
Look, I completely agree about the corrosive influence of the military-industrial complex and the grotesque collusion between weapons manufacturers and our defense establishment. But I always thought that was less about selling toilet paper and more about selling, missiles and stuff. And seems like that's where the money is. I've never seen a movie where the president walks into the Situation Room for a security briefing on some imminent threat, and there are three dark figures in the shadows, and he says, "Who are you?" And they step forward, and it's the Charmin Bears. And they say, "Mr. President, we're here to urge you to declare war. You see, our business depends on it." And the president's like, "I promise to end foreign wars." And then the bears are like, "Your promises were naive. Let's just say Vladimir Putin wants his back, and we know all about that. Because we have on our backs. That's why the toilet paper sticks. The non-Charmin toilet paper." So MAGA claims they're anti-war, but they're all falling in line behind a nominee for Secretary of Defense who is repeatedly called for bombing multiple countries, and even his own colleagues at Fox News are not super into the idea.
They used the killing of Soleimani as an excuse to say, we're scrapping the Iran deal. We all know they were scrapping it anyway. So what better time than now to say, we're starting the clock. You've got a week. You've got X amount of time before we start taking out your energy production facilities. We take out key infrastructure. We take out your missile sites. We take out nuclear developments.
That is
we
not
take out
a popular idea.
capabilities.
Do you know how bad your idea has to be if the other Fox and Friends are pushing back on it? I mean, this is the same program that once thought it was a good idea to host a lumberjack battle in which, as we've shown you before, Hegseth himself threw an axe and missed the target. Even the people who were cool with that think Hegseth's plan to bomb Iran is nuts. And that was in Midtown, by the way, near Times Square. Thank God there were no kids around, because let's just say Elmo can only count to 7 now. Elmo still feel tickle where finger used to be. And yeah, originally it was 9 fingers, and then research was like, he only has 8 to start with. Make it 7, because if Elmo had 9 fingers, that would mean someone gave him a finger. These are the kind of fun conversations we're having here at late night. Somebody kicks in my door and they're like, "If you say 9, it ruins the joke." I'm just realizing I gotta move on to the news and leave this Elmo thing, and I'm a little sad. Bye, friend. So unless 4 Republican senators vote against him, which they almost certainly won't, that guy will lead the most powerful military in the world, a military that will hopefully institute a policy for their own safety called Don't Axe, Don't Tell. So the same MAGA movement that claims to be anti-war is very much pro-Hegseth, even under questioning from Senator Elizabeth Warren yesterday. Hegseth refused to say that he would not work for the defense industry after he leaves the Pentagon.
Now, Mr. Hegseth, you have written that after they retire, generals should be banned from working for the defense industry for 10 years. You and I agree on the corrosive effects of the revolving door between the Pentagon and defense contractors. Will you put your money where your mouth is and agree that when you leave this job, you will not work for the defense industry for 10 years?
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about.
You're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years, but you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
Well, that's for sure. Even this general wouldn't chuck an axe in Midtown Manhattan. You know how much your insurance rates go up if they know you're an axe guy? So Hegseth's rule is that generals shouldn't be allowed to work in the defense industry, but he should be able to cash in immediately when he wants to, although Hegseth might have some trouble getting a corporate job, given his prior management record.
Now, what did this guy do to deserve such an important job? I mean, really one of the most important jobs in the world. He did serve in the National Guard. He deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, like literally hundreds of thousands of Americans. He also ran a dark money Republican group called Vets for Freedom and ran up such massive debts, the group's board had to save Vets for Freedom by merging it with another nonprofit and stripping Hegseth of his responsibilities. He then went on to run another Koch brothers-backed right-wing group, Concerned Vets for America. But a few years later, he was forced to step aside amid multiple allegations of open drunkenness, sexist behavior, and financial mismanagement. He took 2 organizations arguably custom built for him, and he drove them into the ground so hard, both groups distanced themselves from him.
I can't believe I'm asking this, but can the military declare bankruptcy? Is this all going to end with a giant going out of business sign on the Pentagon? Are we going to see the types of people who go to estate sales walking out of there with a stealth bomber? Best thing about this baby, I can go out on the weekends now without Angela knowing where I am. Because you can't track it with radar. Why am I telling you? You're here, you know. The accusations of mismanagement also include allegations of personal misconduct and open drunkenness that sound pretty bad. And it wasn't just at the veterans groups. Those same accusations followed him at Fox News, too. The New Yorker reported this week that as recently as the spring of 2023, Hegseth ordered 3 gin and tonics at a weekday breakfast meeting with an acquaintance in Manhattan. It was an extremely strange experience. We met at Fox News in New York for breakfast, and he suggested we go across the street to a bar. It was like 10 in the morning. Then he ordered 2 gin and tonics at the same time for himself. Then he had a 3rd gin and tonic. 3 gin and tonics for breakfast on a workday? Even my mother waits for Saturday to have that much breakfast gin. So me and we put a picture around. While I was telling the joke, I was thinking, well, don't show a picture. I'm sorry. I mean, drinking in the morning on a workday is wild, unless you're doing it for a recurring segment on your late night talk show. In which case, that's art. That's art. Also, I'm not trying to be the Secretary of Defense. I'd be really bad at it. I'd want a cabinet position people don't really care about, like Secretary of the Interior, Transportation. Oh, I would kill it at Secretary of Transportation. First thing I do, make it illegal to get on the subway before letting people off. Although, I will say I do have an axe to grind or an axe to throw with tourists. If you're getting off the subway, just get off. Don't dilly-dally. Some of us are racing to get a seat. And if you take your sweet-ass time blocking the door, we're going to miss out and have to stand and hold on to the bar. And then, we're doing our Wordle with one hand. And I got a 307-day streak going. And if on top of everything else that's going on in the world, I lose that streak, then I'm going to start drinking 3 gin and tonics at breakfast. Because that's the last thing I have keeping me sane. So, Hegseth's drinking has been the focus of his confirmation battle so far, although he's conspicuously refused to answer questions about it.
While leading Concerned Veterans of America, there were very specific cases cited by individuals about your conduct. I'm going to go through a few of them, And I just want you to tell me if these are true or false. Very simple. On Memorial Day 2014, at a CVA event in Virginia, you needed to be carried out of the event for being intoxicated.
Senator, anonymous
True.
smears.
Just true or false? Very simple. Summer of 2014 in Cleveland, drunk in public with the CVA team.
Anonymous smears.
I'm just asking for true or false questions, true or false answers. An event in North Carolina, drunk in front of 3 young female staff members after you had instituted a no alcohol policy and then reversed it. True or false?
Anonymous smears.
December of 2014 at the CVA Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt at Washington, D.C., you were noticeably intoxicated and had to be carried up to your room. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Another time, a CVA staffer stated that you passed out in the back of a party bus. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Well, at least we know he's sober for this, because anonymous smears is very hard to say when you're drunk. Next time one of your friends insists they're fine to drive, make them say anonymous smears. They'll just hand you the keys without even trying. Also, they were yes or no questions. You can't just keep saying anonymous smears, especially since some of those smears, they were not smears and not anonymous.
Many of your work colleagues have said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality
They're not
of
anonymous.
the letters
We've
on the
seen-
record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record, people
We've
who've
seen
worked
records
me
with
at
names
Vets for
attached to
Freedom.
them. Isn't that the kind of behavior that, if true, would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense?
Senator, anonymous false charges.
They're not anonymous. You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records with names attached to all of these, including the name of your own mother.
Whoa! His own mother. If I claim my mother was anonymous, or say, showed a picture of her after the gin and tonic joke, I would be in for a very long voicemail. Hi, it's your mother. Just to jog your memory, I do have a name. It's Hillary. You may remember me from the day you were born. Hegseth is deeply unqualified, but his nomination is a test to see how loyal Republicans will be. These are the types of people who are going to be running our government until voters finally go to the polls and say,
Give me my back.
this has been a closer look.